This is a Dreamcast disc and is for use only on a Dreamcast unit. Playing this disc on a hi-fi or other audio equipment can cause serious damage to its speakers.
Dreamcast, up to 6 billion players.
Welcome back to the stage of history.
Why don't we play together?
Hey, it's time to make some crazy money. Are you ready? Here we go!
Please stop this disc now.
Welcome to episode 32 of the world's greatest podcast called DreamPod. My name is Tom, and I'm joined by Rob.
Hello.
Nice to have you back, Rob.
Yeah.
And we've also got Mike.
Hello.
Hi. So it's quite a West Country heavy, well, location-wise episode this time. Keep your cider and everything in check. We don't want it spilling all over the place.
It's pretty impressive, isn't it? I mean, there must be I don't know, between me and Mike, I don't know how many miles, 15 miles?
Yeah, less than that, yeah.
Less than that, and down to you, Tom, it's got to be about, 70 miles as the crow flies, something like that.
Yeah, which it's nice we've all come together with the same common interest, which is obviously the Dreamcast.
Cider!
Oh,
the Dreamcast. I'm
Cider.
sorry, it's the Dreamcast. Oh, man, sorry. I got confused.
Guys, going to mix it up a bit this episode because what I usually do at the end is talk about the iTunes and all that kind of thing. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it up to the top of the episode just so people can't turn off. Because I know what you do, you listeners. You get to the end and when I start going, we're going to wrap it up now, and you turn off and you miss this bit. So just for you, I'm bringing it right to the top of the episode. And what I'm going to tell you is this. If you listen to this on iTunes, we'd really appreciate it if you go on there and leave us a review. It doesn't have to be 5-star. It can be a 4-star or even a 1-star if you think it's utter shit. But any feedback you've got, please give us on iTunes. It just helps us with our ratings and things. Another thing is that we've actually now started a Patreon, which is not us begging you for money. It technically is, but really all we're asking is for people who maybe can spare $1 or $5 a month to just help us with the podcast hosting fees. Don't worry, we're not going to take all your money and then disappear to the Bahamas. It's literally, it's just, we're looking to basically fund the podcast. So it's business as usual on the Junkyard. And those are just the two announcements I just wanted to make at the top of the episode rather than at the end when everybody's switched off. Okay. On with the show. Guys, we'll continue as we always do. We'll talk about what we've played, what we've picked up. Rob, you've not been on the podcast for a while, so I'm going to come to you first. What have you been doing in the interim while you've been away?
Well, yeah, I've been doing quite a bit. I mean, it's been months and months and months since I was last on. I think when I last sort of left off, I was on that massive Saturn kick. Because I've been awfully unkind to the Saturn over many years, and I decided to get back into that. So I've got a couple of pickups on many consoles. Let's start with the Saturn. So the one thing I want to talk about here, just because of you guys just did that amazing shmup special, which if people haven't listened to, should definitely listen to. I was gutted I couldn't be on there because I really like my shmups. And on Saturn, I picked up the Salamander Deluxe Pack Plus, which is really cool. It's got Salamander, it has Life Force, which is essentially the same game but renamed, slight tweaks, I believe. And then it's got the sequel, Salamander 2, all on one disc. It's the same crap. The reason I liked it is because, Gradius, that series, it's the same ship, the Vic Viper from Gradius. It's sort of like this weird sort of crossover where that ship comes in here. And anyway, so I picked up Salamander, which is amazing. I really, really like that. I'll get to the Dreamcast right at the end. on the Wii U, I finally picked up the Bayonetta Special Edition with Bayonetta and Bayonetta 2 together in one package. I've sort of decided now that Wii U is one of these systems I'm actually going to collect for. I think it's got such a small library.
Yeah, I was going to say that it's quite a limited library, but not limited in that it's not got loads of good games. It's just it's in numbers. I mean, limited numbers. So I
agree with you entirely. I think this is the point with the Wii. I know this is a Dreamcast podcast, but I've finally come to this sort of opinion of the Wii U that I actually think it's a really, really solid system, and I think in 5 years' time, I think it's going to be hipster's choice.
Like the Dreamcast is now.
Yeah, a bit like the Dreamcast is now. I'm going to sort of get ahead of it. Like that second screen on the controller, that controller got massively panned, but more and more games just keep dropping where that screen is really well used. Anyway, sorry, enough about the Wii U. So I picked up that. Bayonetta, I don't need to tell people about Bayonetta, it's just insane. And then finally we get to the Dreamcast. Now, this is going to sound really, really dull. These are not like far out crazy pickups. The two pickups that I've actually picked up on Dreamcast are Echo the Dolphin,
Okay,
and Crazy Taxi.
Oh.
I know, like, massive gap in my library. The reason I picked it up was, Tom, because we ran that, not the Southampton event, which we're going to talk about in a minute, but what was the event before that in Dorchester?
Oh, that was the Greedy Goblin Con.
At Greedy Goblin Con, my daughter played Crazy Taxi for the first time and absolutely loved it. You know, she was like obsessed with driving around. And, you know, she's got to the age, you know, where I was like, you know, I wants to play more sort of Dreamcast games. And I thought, yeah, Crazy Taxi is one of those games that she, you know, I would like her to play more of. And I looked at my collection, I was like, why don't I have this? Like, this is crazy. So I picked up both of those. And yeah, that pretty much. Oh wait, no, aha. I can't let it go without one mention of the Neo Geo. Aha.
Okay.
I picked up Real Bout Special on the AES, which was sort of like a almost a opportunistic pickup. I just saw that somebody in Spain was selling this pretty cheap, and I pulled the trigger because it's probably one of the better games out of that franchise.
Was that fully boxed and everything, or was it the cart only? Or
fully boxed. The only thing that takes it from not like technically 100% official is that the chap, whoever owned it before, actually laminated the manual, and he's done a fantastic job, but the outsides of the manual are laminated, so it's in fabulous condition. But I know, seriously, the Neo Geo crowd, they would take one look at the manual, see that it was beautifully laminated, but it was laminated, and would go, it's dead to me.
Yeah, it's not original. It's not original. It's been modified.
Modified. The price has been halved at least.
Oh, it's cool. It's a good spread, that, Rob. A good spread across some different consoles. Cool. Yeah, nice one. Okay, come to you next, Mike. Since the last podcast, what have you been doing on the Dreamcast or otherwise?
Hello. It's a very good question. I can't actually remember what I've bought in the last few weeks.
That's a good start.
Yeah,
is that cider you've been drinking?
Yeah, that's what it is. No, on Dreamcast, I don't think I've actually bought anything in about 2 weeks now. Mm-hmm. So I sort of
2 weeks. It's a drought.
I was planning to get the entire collection done by the end of this year, but that's not going to happen. So I think the only thing I've bought in the last couple of weeks has been Uncharted 4.
Oh, okay, nice.
You too. Nice. You're gonna have some love in over Uncharted, aren't you?
Uncharted 4 is without a doubt the greatest game since Shenmue.
Okay, right. I'm just going to jump in here straight away. I have never played an Uncharted game, not a single one.
Okay.
Is it better than Tomb Raider, and why?
Yes.
Why?
It's not like Tomb Raider. I think it's the sort of the impression people get is that it's a very Tomb Raider-ish game because of the setting. It's not like it at all. It's not platforming at all. I know there are elements of platforming within Uncharted, but it's a lot more. How can I put this? It's a lot more on rails, I suppose you could say.
Okay.
I'm sure Tom agrees with this because he's just played Uncharted 2, I know.
Yeah.
You are kind of funneled, through a level.
It's scripted. It's heavily scripted, but the script itself and the acting, I don't think any games come even close to it. It's just amazing, the quality of the acting, the quality of the script.
Sorry, I don't want to get too sidetracked again, but because I've seen the reviews, and we ran a review on tfee.com that was very praiseworthy of the game. But it seemed to me like it's like that classic push and pull almost between like open world freedom and sort of like very well crafted narrative, as you say, like corridors, or almost like funneling you through, but it's sort of incredibly cinematic and incredibly well written and incredibly tight, and it's like, which is better, and I don't really know. I think that maybe Uncharted shows you that at the absolute top end, and obviously Naughty Dog are like at the top end, that sort of game probably is better, because even the biggest open world games like Grand Theft Auto actually have a load of flaws, don't they?
Oh yeah, it's emotion as well. Emotion in the Uncharted games. The characters don't have that uncanny valley look to them. You can see their eyes, and you can see what they're feeling, and you can sort of. It's like Shenmue in that way, and that sort of.
Yeah, sure.
It's a much more personal, much more emotional game. Whereas something like GTA 5, which is a superb game, I think you don't really have that. I can understand what you're saying. Certainly, I think, open world gaming, which, like GTA, like, Red Dead, fantastic games. I love them. But Uncharted's focus, and I think the focus makes it just an exceptional experience.
Yeah, I don't think there has to be, just to go back to what Rob said initially, which is better. I mean, I don't think you really need to say which is the best. I think you can just appreciate them both as kind of similar but different.
I agree with you entirely. It's just, that is like a constant war, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. Just Uncharted 4 then, Mike, yeah? Nothing really on the Dreamcast
Well, I
now?
bought the Uncharted 4 special editions. I got the statue of Nathan Drake staring at me now.
Of course.
Where have you put the statue?
Well, at the current time, it's next to my PS4, but it will go next to my Elder Scrolls Online, my Just Cause 3, my Witcher 3 figure. I have a little thing to collect in limited editions.
Oh, man. That Witcher 3, I saw that. He's like killing the griffin.
Amazing.
Griffin?
Griffin, yeah. It's an amazing statue.
Look great.
It's really good. But apart from that, Dreamcast-wise, no. I haven't bought much on Dreamcast. I haven't played much on Dreamcast. I think I was trying to go through the shmups, obviously, from the last time. I sort of got a little bit addicted to them again.
Yeah.
But not much more, really. I think I started to play Le Mans again last night.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Because I do love my racing games.
Nice one. I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat as you, really, Mike. I've not really bought anything recently. I have played a couple of games. Just for some articles I wrote on the Junkyard, I played Super Magnetic Neo quite a bit. And I also played Nightmare Creatures 2, which is quite lamentable, really, as far as games go on the Dreamcast. It's not much better than the PS1 version, and that was a bit of a nightmare. So, yeah, it's a pretty terrible game. So, yeah, Super Magnetic Neo is by far the better of the two that I've played recently. It comes across as a kid's game, but it's anything but a kid's game. It's
tough.
It's so cerebral.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's a real brain teaser. And apart from those two on the Dreamcast, I've been playing, just like yourself, Uncharted 3, because I got the Nathan Drake collection. I've been working my way through those steadily. I'm now up to Uncharted 3. I'm about halfway through that. A lot of people said it's not the best in the series. I actually think it's better than 2, but that's just my opinion.
Controversial, Tom.
Yeah, do you know what? I'll tell you what I liked about it. I like the fact that, because my girlfriend, she's from Dorset, and her family live quite near to where Lawrence of Arabia is buried. In Dorset. So when he's going on about Lawrence of Arabia, he pulls out this map, and it's this map of Dorset, and I'm like, no way, it's Dorset. It's it's actually like factual, you know, it's showing the little towns of Dorset and things. I was told my girlfriend, and she's like, oh, I want to see it. Well, I said, I'm not going back to the beginning of the game just to show you this map, you know, that he's holding in a cutscene. But I thought it was quite cool. Nice attention to detail.
Yes.
Anyway, apart from that, not a lot really. So, let's move on. To those people listening, this episode is going to be a little bit shorter than usual, and we're mainly going to focus on the couple of news stories that have come out about the Dreamcast in the last couple of weeks. There's been quite a few, actually. So it's more of a news recap, really, this episode. And I think what we'll do is we'll dive straight into the news after this. You're back in the room. So the first thing I want to talk about is this last weekend, the Dreamcast Junkyard was involved with another charity event. This one was held in Southampton, which, if you're not in the UK, is a city on the south coast. It's the place that the Titanic actually launched from. And if you go and watch the film Titanic with Leonardo DiCaprio in it, you'll see a very badly realised version of Southampton docks at the beginning of the film, full of Cockneys, of course, even though people in Southampton don't talk like that. But it was Southampton Game Fest. It was held in aid of the Southampton Hospital charity, and it raised. I'm not sure exactly of the actual amount it raised, but it's definitely in the high hundreds and maybe even in thousands. But there were like, you know, about 300 people, cosplayers. There was indie games, current gen. They had a big tournament, FIFA 16 tournament. They had Pokemon tournaments. It was just a really, really good event, and myself and my two colleagues from Retro Collect, that was Martin and Stefan, we had this like whole area for retro games, but I kind of cornered off a little bit where the Dreamcasts were, and has had that as the little Dreamcast Junkyard section. And I'm happy to report it was a fantastic event. It wasn't as busy as like some of these big ones like EGX or Play Manchester, but it was, you know, it was just right. It wasn't too busy and it wasn't too quiet. And we got, you know, a good mix of people coming up and playing on the different retro consoles, but a lot of attention being paid to the Dreamcasts, especially, which was nice. A couple of little lads started playing on, they were playing Ready to Rumble, and one of them, he had never seen a Dreamcast before, had no idea what it was. And literally, like 15 minutes later, they were both still sat there playing on Ready to Rumble, like loving it. And I just thought that was brilliant. Yeah, we had the VGA monitor set up, and I mean, there was a lot of people who'd never seen a Dreamcast, but also a lot of people who were aficionados of the console, and they were quite appreciative of the fact that we had the VGA set up with some of the better VGA games like Guilty Gear X, for example.
Oh.
Quite a lot of people actually who listened to the DreamPod came up and said, "Oh, we listened to the DreamPod. It's really cool." So I wanted to say thank you to those people as well, just because it's nice to get some feedback from actual people in real life, not just reviews online, and people who actually read the site and who are members of the Facebook group. We had a couple of people asking about you, Rob, and your non-appearance on the DreamPod recently.
What can I say? That people love me. They want more of me. They're like, "Where's Rob? We love him." Don't laugh too hard, guys. Come on.
I also had an interesting conversation with a guy called Richard, who runs a Metropolis Street Racer blog, and he was telling me he knows literally everything about MSR, and he always comments on the posts I put up on the Junkyard about MSR when they come up.
Uh-huh.
And he was telling me about how the developers of the game, they changed the handling model from the demo that's on the Dream On demo disc to the final game. So apparently the one on the Dream On demo disc plays a lot more like Project Gotham Racing. So that's something I need to check out, because he went into quite some intricacies, but I had my mind on I was watching the consoles, other people were trying to talk to me, so I'm going to look at what he was telling me about this demo on the Dream On demo discs. Can't remember which one it is, but I'll find it and I'll put an article together on the Junkyard and see if I can actually find any differences between the handling models. So that was interesting. But yeah, overall, I know you guys weren't there, so I won't bore you too much more with it. But yeah, really good event, and that was Southampton Game Fest 2016. Fantastic little event.
I mean, I saw the write-up. You've got a great write-up on the site, haven't you? So if anyone wants to see what it was like, then they should read that.
Yeah, definitely. Cheers for that, Rob. Yeah. Okay, like I said, this one's going to be all about the news that's happening in the world of Dreamcast at the moment. And believe it or not, there's actually quite a lot. There's actually more news happening now than there was in the final days of Dreamcast magazine, because I've been looking through some old issues the other day, and yeah, we could actually fill the news section with all these stories.
Like, have you actually looked at the end? I haven't seen any of those magazines. Like, what is it? Is it just like page after page with like hay bales, like like tumbleweed?
The later issues like concern themselves more with like games that are coming out on the next gen consoles, and also towards the end of the run. Because bear in mind, this was the last magazine still going. All the others had closed by that point, so they were just kind of like recap issues of like these are the best driving games,
best 10 driving games, best 10 fighting games. Yeah.
So there was not a lot of news, but this stuff is like I say, more apt for those kind of issues. But let's dive straight into the first one, which is not old news now; it's still ongoing. But Xenocider from our good friends at Retro Summit, the Kickstarter has launched. And yeah, I've backed it. They're asking for $92,000. They're currently at $22,000, and there's 16 days to go. I'm hoping there'll be a late spurt and it'll get funded, but I'm a bit worried.
Yeah,
I'm not going to lie.
Yeah,
what have you backed? You've backed it, haven't you?
I have. Yeah, I have. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this kind of slowdown in funding?
Well, I think we all went through this with Shenmue last year, didn't we? I think it's a very high target set.
I agree.
It's a very high target. I was surprised. I didn't even look at the target when I first backed it, because I was going to back it no matter what.
Yeah, same.
But 92 it's a very, very high figure. I think it'd be great to think that we could do it. Do you know how many actual backers they've got?
They've got about 350 now, I believe.
That's not bad. That's not bad at all. And I think the game definitely deserves it. From what I've seen, it looks awesome.
Yeah, I mean, last week they released a new demo, which includes a reworked kind of homage to Space Harrier, which is actually based on Space Harrier, which is really cool.
That was amazing.
Yeah,
I think the pessimist in me says it's too much.
Yeah, I don't want to shit on Carlos's project because it's amazing. I love it, but yeah, I mean, because didn't Alice Dreams only get, was it 25,000?
Yes, it was quite a small amount, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think the WhoCast games got similar sort of amounts as well, didn't they?
Yeah, I suppose you have to bear in mind, though, is that they're actually releasing this on PC and on 3DS, so that's maybe why the amount is so high.
I think they've come at this like in the exact proper way they should do. It's amazing. Like, they've got video, they've got imagery, they've got a playable demo. Like, here's a great example, right? There was John Romero's and Adrian Carmack's new kickstarted FPS Blacklist or Blacklight.
Yeah.
And this was like literally a week or so ago, and they came and they had nothing. Like, there's no images from the game, there's no demo, there's no video, there's just some concept art and this sort of cheesy video of Carmack and Adrian messing around pretending to be in Star Wars. and they brought nothing to the Kickstarter. Now, admittedly, that went and got quite a lot of money out the gate, probably because of
the names.
The names,
yeah.
Romero's name in particular.
Yeah.
But they canned that incredibly fast. Like, I don't know how many days it was up, like 5 days. But
they cancelled it?
Yeah, like, it was up for 5 days. I forget the figure it made. Quite a lot of money, though, in those first 5 days. But then I think they must have, like, run the numbers going ahead and sort of and looked at models on Kickstarter to realise that they were not going to make enough money. In that circumstance, you go, well, you're probably not going to make enough money because you've not actually come to Kickstarter with enough information for the people who are giving you money. In this case, like, they've gone, like, over and above.
Yeah.
Like, I have backed a lot of projects. Like, I backed the Carmageddon reincarnation thing on basically some images. I backed Project Eternity. I backed the new Broken Sword 5, The Serpent's Curse. And I backed all that on less information and actual assets than I've got here with Xenocider. So I think they've done the exact right thing. I just think that figure is massive. It's massive for such, dare I say it, a niche title.
I don't think it helps that we've got there's 2 other games at least which are not being released yet that people have backed. So obviously people have paid for Slave, that still hasn't been released yet.
Yeah,
people obviously paid for Alice Dream's Tournament. I think if they weren't around, if they weren't being currently still worked on, I think perhaps even more would be to Xenocider. I hope they get it. I really do, because I think it would be a massive, massive loss if they weren't to get it.
Oh, it'd be an incredible loss. It'd be just not a disaster, but it'd be really disappointing. I mean, some of the goals that they've added to the Kickstarter are really, really cool as well. I mean, you've got bespoke Dreamcasts with like Xenocider logos on them. You can have your face put into the game. I know Scott was trying to start a campaign to get me put into the game, so you could shoot my face.
I contributed to that.
I contributed to it as well. I mean, I have to say I had no input on that. I saw it came up on my. I looked at Facebook. It said you've got this many notifications, and I clicked on the Dreamcast Junkyard page. I'm like, what the hell is that? It's my face in Xenocider. Like, cheers, Scott. But yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, I really do hope they make it, and hopefully people listening to this who've not backed it yet, you can go on to Kickstarter, just type Xenocider, and hopefully, or do even just the word Dreamcast, and you'll find it through the search box, or look at the Dreamcast Junkyard and search for it. You'll find all the links on there.
If there's anyone on Kickstarter who deserves your money, then it's these guys.
We all play games. Why don't we play together? Dreamcast, up to 6 billion players.
Moving on to the next story, this is kind of Kickstarter related as well, but not like 100%. But Alice Dream's Tournament, which is the game Mike referenced earlier, which is also a Kickstarter and still not been released. It was meant to ship in June, I believe, and it's been released on another Kickstarter update yesterday, or the 22nd of May, that it's now not going to ship in June. There's no actual release date given. However, I did message them on Facebook and ask if they had a projected date, because I wanted to be able to take it to Play Manchester in October, and they assured me that it'd be done by then. So it's just a waiting game, really. Which, fair enough. They've got other things to add and implement. They did give some reasons for this delay, and that is that they need to work on the making of video that they promised to backers. They've also got a couple of different things that they need to implement with the VMU functionality, and just other assorted bugs and things that need ironing out. It's not all bad though, because they've also added a new play mode which is called Paint Bomb mode. And I don't know if you remember. Do you remember Tony Hawk's Skating?
Yeah,
obviously Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
Sure.
There's a mode in that called Graffiti, where there's like 2-player mode, and you have to like do tricks off different ramps and things. And if you do it, it changes to your colour.
Yep.
And then at the end of the game, whoever's got the most ramps in their colour wins the game. It's kind of like that, but you use the bombs as like paint, and you have to like kind of paint over kind of like Splatoon. Do you know what I mean? In the environment. So it's kind of like a play on that, really, which is cool. That's a new play mode. And also, I think the most interesting thing that I've seen in a new game for the Dreamcast recently, or in any game really, is they've actually implemented QR codes.
Yeah.
So that when you get a high score in the game, this QR code will pop up on the screen. You can use the QR scanner on your phone. I think it's Android and iOS, and I'm not sure if any other devices are compatible with it as yet. But you can scan the code on the screen, and it will automatically upload your score to the online leaderboard.
That's cool.
Which I think's really cool.
Yeah.
To be integrating like new technology, what didn't even exist when the Dreamcast launched, into this kind of game is really brilliant, I think.
It's the same as when Stormwind came out with the SD card compatibility. It's like thinking outside the box, not just being restricted to doing. I know the Dreamcast home indie scene's got a lot of sort of criticism for being just shmup after shmup. And I think we've got so many games out now, and Alice Dreams Tournament's one of them, where they're using the functionality they're thinking about with the VMUs is amazing. The whole nighttime.
Oh yeah, with the little lamp and everything. I think
brilliant.
that was like a was that like a concept? I mean, I've not really seen anything more of that, to be honest. I mean, and I could go without it if it meant the game would come sooner. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, if it is something that they bring out for the game, then all power to them, because it's I love a little bit of innovation.
Yeah,
certainly in the Dreamcast indie world, it's all kicking off.
Indeed.
On the subject again of indie games, this new one that as yet doesn't have a name. It's I've been calling it the unnamed FPS. I don't know if you guys remember the story that we put up on the Junkyard I think it's probably a few months ago now. It was this image of it looks a bit like a bank heist with these characters with like clown mask faces on.
Yeah, I do, yeah.
And the guy who's developing it, this guy called Phenom, he's actually released a new video on his YouTube channel showing some new footage of the game engine. They were using the Quake 3 engine, but now apparently they've moved away to a new bespoke engine because they were having issues with like collision detection and lighting and things like that. So they've moved to a new bespoke engine, and the video is showing off some really impressive character models, animation, lighting effects. Have you guys seen the video?
Yes, yeah.
What do you think?
Well, the video I've seen is the as you say, like the clown guys with the shotgun running on the spot, standing on the spot. Is that the video we're talking about?
No, this is a new one that came out, actually, I think it was late last week, and it basically just shows, obviously, how some of the issues they were having with the Quake 3 originated engine, and how they've moved to a new engine, and it's basically just kind of a mock-up, really. They're in the same kind of environment that's shown in the other video, but you can actually move around freely. He's got a weapon. It looks like it is going to be a first-person shoot 'em up now, and it also showed some collision detection with the other models that were in the environment, so you could shoot them and they would fall and die. And also, one of the most interesting things is that it has a third-person view as well, so it kind of zooms out and it kind of like over-the-shoulder kind of viewpoint, and the animation looks really cool. And he says in the video, his narration is that this is basically it's only a test, it's a proof of concept, but we're going to make a game with this, and more details to come. I think it's already been snapped up by Goat Star, I believe, but they've signed an NDA. It means they can't really say anything about what it's going to be or what the game's going to be called or anything like that. So,
Feed the goat.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, feed the goat. Yeah. You're not making a really obscure reference to ex-Manchester City striker Shaun Goater, are you?
Feed the goat and he will score.
Wow. I don't think I'll ever be on a podcast with Shaun Goater being referenced. That's an interesting...
What a striker.
No, he was terrible. Terrible.
He was awful.
He played for Bristol City, and I refused to accept anything he played for Bristol City.
The thing is, he became a legend, wasn't he, because of Soccer AM?
Yeah.
Speaking of random like footballers from yesteryear, well, not really yesteryear. I was walking down the road this morning, and I swear I thought I saw Dimitar Berbatov stood at a bus stop. He was stood there. This guy was stood there, like, and he obviously wasn't him because he had a little shopping bag. Do you know what I mean? And he was dressed in a Chelsea tracksuit. But he just looked the spits of Berbatov. For those people listening who are not interested in football, who don't have a clue who Shaun Goater is or Dimitar Berbatov, we apologise, but yeah, that was just something that interested me this morning. But yeah, so this
Venom,
yeah,
and the new shooter,
yeah, going back to the Dreamcast, this game, it looks really good. If you want to see more footage of it, you can go onto YouTube and just type, I think he's called it 2016 Dreamcast Engine. Just search for that, or you can go as ever onto the Dreamcast Junkyard main blog, and you'll see the footage reproduced with permission. I wonder if any other Sega like fan sites actually go to the effort of getting permission before they put stuff up on their sites. I don't know. We do, just in case you're wondering. But that's another story. Before I get sidetracked too much, I'll move on to the next thing. Now, mainstream games websites, love them or hate them. Whenever a Dreamcast-related story pops up, it seems to go viral.
Yeah.
Like a motherfucker. And even though we put out this stuff on a daily basis almost, we don't get anything like the hits or exposure that sites like IGN or videogamer.com get, or even like Eurogamer. Like Eurogamer is one of the bigger ones, and they ran a story at the weekend, which was written by the ex-editor of DC UK magazine, Keith Stuart. And the story focuses on the time that he, whether he was, ill-advised or not, is open to debate. When he was editor of DC UK, decided to put a Daytel cheat disc on the front of the issue. And I've done a little bit of searching. There's no reference to which issue it was in the article, but I believe it was the July 2000 issue 11 of DC UK came with this disc on the front. Am I right?
I think it is, yeah. It's summer of 2000, isn't it?
Yeah. And what this disc, allowed you to do inadvertently was to bypass the Dreamcast's regional lockout, so you could play Japanese and American games in a UK Dreamcast and vice versa. And this led to Keith and the magazine being blacklisted by Sega, by which I mean frozen out from all future, press releases or new information from Sega themselves. And it's a really fascinating article, I must say. Did you guys see this?
I did. I read it. Yeah.
It was really cool. What I was initially hinting at the beginning of this ramble I'm going on was that whenever a story comes up about the Dreamcast, it seems to get really, really popular. And this one is, it's up there with like the biggest and most popular stories on Eurogamer at the moment, and rightly so, really, because it's a really interesting story. Now, the reason I bring this up is because on Twitter I actually butted in rather rudely to a three-way conversation between Keith Stuart, Eurogamer, and a guy who used to write for Dreamcast magazine called Martin Mathers. He was the games editor on.
He was indeed, yeah.
Yeah, on Dreamcast magazine, and I said, "Oh, didn't Dreamcast magazine do something like this as well?" And then Martin was like, "Oh no, we never had a cover disc." I was like, "I think you did," and I took a picture of mine that I have, which is the same as the thing that DC UK released, but sometime later. And he was like, "Oh, I forgot about that. We did." And then that led to a big conversation between myself, Martin Mathers, and Keith Stuart about cover discs, and it was just really, really cool and really interesting to speak to the guys who actually were at the forefront of Dreamcast publications back in the day. Just for the people who are listening, the fact fans who are listening, the Dreamcast magazine one was actually released on the cover of issue 24, which was July 2001, so almost a year later, and it allowed you to do the same kind of thing. It was an Exploder cheat disc. But yeah, guys, what's your opinion on this story? I find it fascinating personally that they could even get away with doing something like that.
Well, I can't comment on pissing Sega off because obviously we don't want to go down that route again.
No, we don't.
It's an interesting story. I think it shows how careful the magazines back in the time had to be before the internet really took off as well. It was interesting to see because it almost seemed like he was talking about a time just between the sort of old 16-bit magazines where everything was probably through the post and the new age where everything pretty much is internet-based. It was interesting.
Well, you, Rob, what do you think?
I think it's interesting. Something Mike just said about the old ways and like the modern age. I read this story, and obviously I was nowhere near as close to the centre of the Dreamcast sort of journalism scene as these guys, but I've got a history in journalism, and I definitely think this story does sit very much in this weird like limbo state between like the old days of video gaming and the new. I think like in the late 80s and the early 90s and even the mid 90s and late 90s, it was a bit of a wild west, and it was sort of all very I don't want to say like you were freer and less constrained. Everyone, it was sort of like less regulated. There was less. It wasn't such big business as it is today. And reading this story about how the chap, he put this disc on the front of the magazine, and like piracy was a huge thing in the 90s. Like, let's not forget here. Let's not forget that Sony established itself, and again, people may disagree with me, but I think it's pretty plain that Sony, part of the reason why they came to dominate the 90s and really establish themselves with the PlayStation and the PlayStation 2, specifically the PlayStation, was that they courted piracy. They didn't do it officially, of course, but I mean, everyone can remember, right? How you could get your console chipped just down the road at the local newsagents, how you could, anyone could burn a pirated copy of a video game.
Yeah.
And it meant that they could grow very fast a hardware base because people knew that it was like, oh, I'll get it chipped and I can get games for a fraction of the price. And it helped them. In this circumstance, when did you say this was? Summer 2000?
Yeah, July 2000.
I think things have changed. I think they're on the cusp of changing. Like that idea that you would give away on the front of a magazine. Imagine today, someone giving away some sort of technology that allows you to play import games or pirated games. Like, there would be absolute uproar.
Yeah.
And I think this story here, I think if it had been 4 or 5 years earlier, there wouldn't have been anywhere near as much trouble as there was.
Yeah, like a disc where you could play kind of imported Mega CD games on your UK Mega CD. I don't think anyone would have given a toss, would they?
No one will have given a toss, but I think with the Dreamcast, specifically with Sega's no one knew at the time, but with Sega's perilous financial state, I think they, no wonder they were furious.
They have actually updated the article since it was published, saying that it didn't allow you to run pirated games. It was only imported games because it bypassed the region lockout, but it didn't allow you to play pirated games.
That's something you can't do today. How hard is it to play import titles today? I can't just. I mean, you can. I know that there's ways to set up, like, you want to set up a Japanese PlayStation Store account.
Yeah,
you can do that. And you can set up your connection so it sort of tricks it into believing that you're in the middle of Tokyo or something. But you can't, can you? You can't just go out. I mean, some systems have no region lock, but the vast majority, they want you to buy the games in your territory for the official RRP.
Yeah, I think that was the main thing in the article that he said that really kind of pissed Sega Europe off, because they wanted people to be playing the games that they were putting out in the UK, not going and getting import games, these weird and wonderful. Because back then, I mean, import games was like a weird kind of, I don't know about you. I know you guys are kind of like more savvy on this kind of thing than I am, but back then it was kind of like a weird mystical world of like, oh, new Japanese import games.
Yeah,
Ooh.
it was a mystical world to me until a few years ago. I'm very late to the party. I got my first. I think I bought a bundle of Dreamcast stuff about 4 or 5 years ago now. And every single import game. Before that, I literally had 2,500 games in my collection. I was a massive retro collector. I bought every single console. Didn't have a single import game. Because I just didn't even contemplate it. It would seem something so ridiculously exotic, I suppose is the word.
Yeah.
Even to me, in my sort of old age, I was going to say, then that's awful. In my older state, it still seemed really odd. Now it's second nature to me, as my Japanese Dreamcast collection shows.
I think you're right. I think exotic is the word, and I think that there is still that hangover. Like, I think I'm still more turned on by imports than I am native territories, because how I was programmed when I was a child. Because when I would go into the local newsagents who did like rental video games or something, or I went down to I don't know, Planet Games or wherever, or one of these independent stores that you don't get so much anymore, and you'd have those import titles, and they were always more expensive. They had amazing box art, or weird shaped boxes, and as a child, those sort of things really got you, and equally, because you were a child, often you couldn't afford them.
It was the fact that they were so inaccessible made you want them more, kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
It is intoxicating once you get bitten by the importing. Because I was a PC gamer for so long, and PC gaming imports of PC games don't really, especially nowadays, it doesn't make any sense, really. To have this whole library, that's the reason I wrote the guide, for God's sake, was to actually sort of get all these games listed. And I haven't got a Saturn anymore because I sold it stupidly. But the thought, I need to get a Japanese Saturn and some Japanese games again, because it's just... it just seems to be an upper tier of collecting, you know what I mean? You've got people who just buy games, and you've got people, or play games, I should say, and you have people who do the research and buy these mystical packages of Japanese greatness.
Mike, what you should have been doing is getting yourself down to the newsagents in July 2000 and getting issue 11 of DC UK. The whole world could have been opened up to you back then.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what it is.
Yeah, anyone listening to this who wants to read the article we're talking about, I will put a link on the Dreamcast Junkyard page that this episode will be found on. And so you can go and have a read of it. And thanks very much to Keith Stuart for chatting to me as well, because we did have a bit of a back and forward on Twitter, and he was a really nice guy. And
watch this. I've got a plan. Yes. I can beat this thing. Excellent. Why?
Think out loud, Criterion.
It's thinking.
Guys, I think that's pretty much going to be it for this episode. I know I said it was going to be a short one. As ever, I'd like to thank you, the listener, for downloading the episode or listening online. I will also be putting all of the back issues or back episodes onto our YouTube channel for you to listen to. So you can find them on youtube.com/the Dreamcast Junkyard or whatever it is. Just type Dreamcast Junkyard into YouTube. You'll find them all on there. And as ever, you can find us on iTunes and on Stitcher and on... I don't know why I'm telling you this. You're already listening to the episode, so I don't know, what the point is. But we need iTunes reviews. Yep. Go on iTunes and give us a review. God damn it.
Reviewers, come on.
Also, I want to say a quick thank you to all the people who've backed us so far on Patreon. I don't know if that's the right word. Is it backed or patroned or whatever it is? I'm just going to quickly read them out. It's James Steele, Sean Robinson, Dan Patton, DCGX, I hope that's not his birth name, Spencer Johnson, Garrett Otto, Chris Unwin, Alexander Padilla, Jason Cathers, Brandon Aaron, Alex Hirsch, and John Thompson. Thank you all so much for going onto the Patreon and donating $1.
Totally.
Excellent.
Yeah, really appreciate that. And you can find us on all on Twitter. Rob, you're on Twitter at
R Nicholas J. That's R Nicholas J, all one word.
And you can find Mike on Twitter at
space_turnip.
Space_turnip. And you can find me at Tom Lee C, or you can find us at the DC Junkyard. And of course, you can find us on Facebook.com, the Dreamcast Junkyard. Join our group if you want to come and talk about Dreamcast stuff with us and everybody else who's in the group. It's a really good, fun group. And also, you can find us on our blog, which is www.thedreamcastjunkyard.co.uk. And that will pretty much do it for episode 32 of the world's greatest Dreamcast podcast called DreamPod. Thanks very much for listening, and we'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Please stop this disc now.